to their decision to their decision making, to a decision making process, and all of that. So it kind of limits their possibilities to contribute. High rates of dropouts. So when girls are not encouraged to get educated, there is a lot of dropouts, and these are also effects of certain things like either getting married very early, or there are financial constraints, or societal norms that prioritize boys' education. So it impacts self-esteem. There are a lot of health consequences, fear of violence, and so forth. And today, we have this wonderful lineup of speakers to talk about education for all, bridging this gap, trying to bridge this gap in order to make a more equitable society where everyone gets equal opportunities to bloom, to flourish, and to contribute to their nation or to the country. And among the lineup of speakers, let me introduce you to Mr. Jitesh Khanna. Mr. Jitesh is a multi-award winning entrepreneur and investor, writer, speaker, and abstract artist with a deep passion for empowering others. A humanitarian and advocate for human rights, Jitesh actively contributes to advancing the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, focusing and promoting equality, education, environmental sustainability. He champions compassion, inner transformation, and living for the happiness of all. Jitesh is dedicated to sharing his wisdom and experience with the next generation, fostering a spirit of hope and action rooted in his belief in humanism and the principles of cause and effect. I welcome you today to the ECDF webinar. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Jitesh.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Our second speaker is Smriti Agarwal. She's an academic mentor of Madhuban Educational Books, and she is a co-team member of Early Childhood Development Forum. We've done a lot of work together. And she has been doing excellent work in the field of early childhood education, and she's a curriculum and pedagogy expert. Her contributions to her work in Ampersand, it's notable because she's been launching projects and heading projects which are very crucial for children in their early childhood years. So welcome, Smriti.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vasavvi. It's a pleasure to be here.
We have with us Shireen Ratnani. She is a passionate educator with over 25 years of experience in early childhood education. She began her journey as a co-founder of Kiddie Planet, a Montessori school, and is currently the Vice President of Academics and Operations at Kipina, Indonesia, an international preschool chain that uses an enhanced Finland curriculum. Shireen believes deeply in the power of lifelong learning and the importance of shaping the leaders of tomorrow. Her mission is to build strong foundations for children by empowering the teachers, leaders, and parents who guide them. Through her work, she has trained educators and leaders in Indonesia and globally, fostering a culture of continuous growth and development. And this year we had met her when the ECDF delegation was in Jakarta and in Cirebon, and it was a pleasure, having a tour of her school, the Kipina in Jakarta. Welcome, Shireen.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vasavvi. It's an absolute honor to be with everyone today. Looking forward.
And we have with us Archana Madhusudan, Director of Ed Gurukul and Senior Academic at Next Education India Private Limited, with over 20 years of experience in education and child development. Holding dual postgraduate degrees in English literature and Sanskrit, she excels in early childhood education, emotional intelligence, child psychology, and corporate training. Archana has trained over 2,000 educators and conducted pan-India workshops for teachers, principals, and parents. As a global speaker, she champions holistic learning, integrating neuroscience and brain-based methods to help young minds thrive. Her dedication inspires future generations. Welcome, Archana. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Vasavvi. It's a pleasure being here.
And we are expecting Dr. Natalie Forrest to join us in some time. She is having some technical glitch, but we'll go on with our session as planned. And so we have in this webinar two sections. One is the common question, for all our esteemed speakers, and then we go to an individual question round. So my question to all of you today is, I would start with Archana. This question is for you. Want you to state 3 reasons you think are foremost for gender-biased inequality in education.
Let me greet all of the girls on this occasion. Although we've crossed the date of October 11th, I think we still need to greet them. So may every girl around the world have the chance to follow her dreams, free from barriers and full of hope. So happy International Day of the Girl Child. And yes, coming to our question, gender-biased inequality in education is a complex issue influenced by various factors. And I think 3 of the foremost reasons. First reason, cultural and social norms. Deeply rooted patriarchal norms often prioritize boys' education over girls. Families may believe that investing in a girl's education is less important since she is expected to marry and take on domestic roles. This mindset leads to higher dropout rates for girls, especially in the rural areas. Second, economic constraints. In many families, limited family resources lead to difficult decisions about education. When funds are scarce, families may choose to educate boys over girls, viewing the former as a better long-term investment. This economic disadvantage further perpetuates gender disparities in educational attainment. And the last reason, health and nutrition. Poor health and malnutrition disproportionately affects girls, especially in low-income groups. This can lead to a higher absenteeism and dropout rates, as girls may be needed at home to care for the sick family members or are themselves affected by poor health, limiting their ability to attend or perform well in school. These factors collectively contribute to the persistent gender gap in education in India specifically, highlighting the need for targeted interventions to address these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana. Very pertinent points. Moving on to Shireen.
Hi, again, happy International Day of the Girl Child, everyone. And I pretty much resonate with what Archana shared with us. But I'm just going to say, I was in India and I asked my helper, you have 4 children. And where are they all studying? And her answer actually provoked me to think, what are these major factors? And she said, I have 1 boy and 3 girls, and I save for my boy to be able to study. And when I asked her why, she said exactly what Archana pointed out, that, my son is going to grow up and be the breadwinner of the family, whereas I know that my girls will be able to get away with just, learning domestic chores, which I don't have to spend money on. And that got me really thinking about not only communities in India, but even in Indonesia and across the world. Really, I think there are 3 very major factors. One is, of course, these cultural norms, these societal norms, which have been ingrained for too long. They have just become the way of thinking in a lot of communities and societies. And not only is it these cultural norms, the fact that people actually choose, like, for example, she chose that her daughters can stay home and her son can study. So she's actually advocating or perpetuating this gender stereotype that it's okay for girls to actually not have this education. So I think perpetuating, advocating that thought process. And finally, I think the resistance to change. We have huge communities that just follow. There's a stigma that we cannot change what already exists. And I think it is this resistance to change that kind of advocates this decision making in a lot of communities. And I think that's where we are today, to kind of challenge this change and make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Yeah, very, very important points. Let me get a summary of all of our speakers, and then yeah, I think moving on next to Smriti.
Uh, yeah, okay, so happy Girl Child Day internationally. A lot is being done. We are moving towards the right path, is what I believe in. But there's still a long way to go, where, of course, the main factors remain as what Archana and Shireen just said, that those are the whether it's the community, society, religious views, socio-economic status of the parents, education level of the parents of the girl child, whether they themselves are educated or not, what do they believe in, the belief system, the society that they are in. They have to, cater to that. Okay, for what would they say, what would our neighbors, our relatives, and everybody are doing, so we follow the same. There's a peer pressure. Then I feel also, because it is, like Shireen says, it's such a deeply ingrained gender bias that, there are such defined roles for men, women, girls, and boys, that stereotype is very, very difficult to break through and then take it on. And other than that, I also believe and feel that there are a lot of, prejudices, biases, and infrastructure lack of actual understanding of a woman, a girl, their needs, their biological needs, the changes that they go through. And we definitely lack the infrastructure of clean, hygienic toilets. When the girls are pulled out, even if they are sent to schools, that's what I have researched on, is that even if they're sent to school in the primary years as children, the moment their hormonal changes, their periods and all begin, it becomes very embarrassing for the parents of the girls to go to school. There are no proper, there's no proper amenities to help them out. Then there is a lot of sexual abuse. There is a lot of eve teasing when the girls in their puberty and their adolescence are going to schools, specifically in the places where it's not that very safe. In India, we talk about the rural and 2 and 3 tiers, cities. It's quite difficult. What kind of amenities, infrastructure is the school providing? Is the city or the village or the roads are having? Everything actually, it's a complete overall kind of a failure of the system if we do not have girls in school. But then there's a lot to be done for that, because there are many places where we do not even have good sanitation facilities. So I feel then once this malnutrition, sanitation, safety, infrastructure, understanding, all of these are not there, we can't have them in school. So education, I think, comes last. That's it, Dr. Vasavvi. Let's see what we can do about it.
Yes, so very, very relevant points given. And Mr. Jitesh, over to you.
Yeah. So all three of them have pretty much covered the core points, And for last 18 years, I have been working with youth. And so if you see the Indian society per se, we have this great segregation. We have the rural area, we have the tier 2 and tier 3. So we have the lower middle class, we have the people who are from the poor background, we have the upper middle class, and then we have the 1%, the cream of India, the new emerging millionaires, and So in the upper middle class and the 1%, education is not an issue. The girl child goes to the best colleges, goes abroad, gets the best degrees. It is the low middle class in the rural areas, these issues are there. Of course, we all know clearly the number one point is the cultural thing. In India, to have a boy, is a very preferred thing. And then they would prefer to send the boy to a school than a girl child. Also in the rural areas, they have a lot of children, and education is not it's not very, especially for the low middle class in tier 1, tier 2 and 3 towns. So they still prefer to send the boys because it's like a future insurance. The boy goes to the school, he gets a degree, he gets a job, and takes care of the parents. Where it is, if you see socially, it is quite the opposite. It is usually the girl child who's more attached to the parents even after marriage. And one of the core reasons that Smriti brought, which I saw when I was working with the NGOs, is there's a lot of harassment, especially in the tier 2 and 3 towns in rural areas. When a girl goes out to school, comes back, there's a lot of eve teasing, there's a lot of sexual harassment. It's pretty unsafe at certain areas where girls have to travel to far off places, walk to far off places for schooling. So all these together are the reason where a girl child is discouraged to go to school, get further education, and which is such a unfortunate thing in a growing country like India, which has 70% population as youth. And I believe our youth is going to be a driving force in the future for the world. So I pretty much agree with all of them. I mean, these are the core points, and I mean, these are the points you cannot ignore.
Thank you, Mr. Jitesh. So basically, yeah, when we are looking at the core points, it's the cultural and the societal norms, the limited resources that are there, and the mindset. I would say it's basically, the people's mindset. If you talk about India, mostly, uh, we feel like already our speakers have said how it's more important for a boy to be educated than a girl, and why so. And then the infrastructure and harassment and a lot of other factors that come into play, health, nutrition, like Archana has mentioned. And yeah, I think we need to break the stereotype, and that's why we are here today. And that's why we have taken up this, important webinar for this important occasion, because we need to break this stereotype, and we need to get all the girls into the school so that tomorrow the nation, or every nation in the world, they go move forward with equal strength of both the genders, not just one. And so now we move on to the individual question round. And uh, so my first question is for Ms. Shireen Ratnani, and she's been in this Kipina schools for so long and doing wonderful work. And when we talk about a school, or maybe home, the play environment and all of it, we generally see there's a lot of gender biased play activities happening, many times without even knowing, without even understanding, without, it might be very hidden messages. So, Shireen, my question to you is, what role can gender neutral play in early learning and childcare environment would play in bridging the gender divide? And why is it critical to avoid gender stereotyping right from the early years? Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Vasavvi. I'm just going to share my screen. I love that. Sorry, just give me a second and I will just share my screen. I hope that's visible. Yeah, that's a very interesting topic, and I think we're celebrating the right day to actually talk about this. So, first of all, before we dive into this topic, I would just like to share this view that, every child enters the world without preconceived notions of who they should be. It is us adults, we provide toys, we provide language, we provide the environment, which kind of shapes the way these children start to think. And they frame their sense of identity pretty much based on the experiences they have. And think about it. Right from the time children are born, wrapping them up in pinks or blues, allowing children to play with dolls, and then actually affirming a girl child, to be, oh, you've been so obedient, and you've spoken so softly and politely, you didn't back answer. And then on the other hand, exposing boys to to toys that require more physical energy and action, and actually affirming that, oh, you are brave if you don't cry. What we are doing is actually completely covering up that vulnerability. We're actually trying to build a reality and taking away that child from what he or she would actually want to eventually create as a reality. So we're defining roles to children through play without, like you said, Dr. Vasavvi, very unintentionally. We are doing. So, see, what really is gender neutral play? Gender neutral play is offering children, very young children, it's from 0 to 6, offering them toys which are not defined by gender, which are not, the environment is not set up based on societal norms. So, like you can see over here with gender neutral toys, kids should be free to explore their interests based on their preferences, their personal interests, and not, for us to box them up and say, here are the dolls for the girls, or here are all the astronauts for the boys. Because by doing this, we are really giving them that freedom, that creativity, that vulnerability to express themselves in many ways. And I think someone mentioned earlier, I think Dr. Vasavvi, you mentioned that we're using a lot of human capital and talent because we're boxing girls to be a particular way. And we're doing this at a very, very young age. So what should we be doing? How does it bridge the gender device? Why should we have a gender neutral play? We should, because this encourages, it's removing the stigma, it's to remove the stereotype. It's okay for boys to play with dolls, it's okay for boys to cry, and it's okay for girls to play with STEM-based toys, or to build bricks, or to pretend to be an astronaut. Because when you limit your child by gender, you are limiting the very future of your child. I know so many girls who came from my generation who were not really affirmed for playing with toys like aeroplanes. And, parents would say, why are you playing with that? It's such a boy's toy kind of a thing. I know girls who wanted to become pilots and they could never because of this gender stereotype. And it's all coming through experiences in a very, very so what really, why is this point very important? Why should we be actually correcting this at such a young age? It's because the first 5 to 6 years are the most critical years in the life of a child. And we all know that the 90% of the brain development is happening before the age of 5. So we need to stop and think, what kind of impressions are we creating? What kind of foundational years are we creating? Are we boxing up girls and are we boxing up boys to be to behave in a particular way, to feel strong? Are we just getting boys to feel strong and girls to feel proud about the fact that they're obedient, or they're great caregivers, or they are best while they're playing with, toys which are with cooking utensils? Are we doing that? Are schools doing that? This is a very big question. And I'm very happy to even see that Sweden, Australia, and a lot of countries now have actually taken this point into their toy manufacturing company to make a change so that we have gender toys, and so that we stop stereotyping what girls should play with. We should stop controlling what they play with or how they should play with it. And then, so yes, I think it is in our hands. I think it's about a mindset. It is not just the toys. Toys are toys. It is society that puts them into the blue and to the pink. So it is our mindset, your mindset, my mindset, everybody over here who's listening to us. We can make this change. And how do we make this change? Well, the next time you are gifting someone a toy, ask yourself, are you packing up a gender stereotypical toy? We are still doing it very unintentionally. So I think it's about us unlearning and relearning. the damage this is having on the minds of the children. And I think it's about time we allow every child to thrive without any limitations imposed by these gender norms. I think it becomes a responsibility of you, me, and everybody else who is listening to this to start by making that one small change. And it starts very early when the child is in the preschool. So I think I would just like to end by saying that gender equality is essential to ensure that every child, girl and boy, has a fair chance in life. And it is our responsibility as parents, as educators, as teachers, and as leaders to stop creating learning environments in school and at home that are encouraging a gender stereotype, but in fact, I hope everybody can be a bridge to remove this gender stereotyping. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Yes, I think your presentation, it sums it up all, because the early childhood years are the most, it basically shapes our brain architecture. So whatever we absorb in those early years kind of stay with us. And yeah, so being gender neutral in our dialogues, in our works, in our play environment, in whatever we do and speak to our little ones, or the examples we set, they actually stay with the child for the rest of their lives. And very beautifully presented. Thank you. Many wonderful points stated. Now, moving on to Ms. Smriti Agarwal. Smriti has been doing a wonderful work in the field of SDGs, because she's trying to collate, uh, you know, um, generally when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goal, we talk about the elders doing it. But then how can we get them into early childhood education as well? So, Smriti, my question to you is, how would you collate SDG 4 and 5 to create a more equitable, gender neutral society right from early childhood?
Right. Thank you so much for the question, Dr. Vasavvi, because SDG 4 and 5, yeah, two of the most important things in our field of work and profession, quality education and gender equality. And I think when we're talking about gender equality, it goes hand in hand. So because quality education is what SDG states is all about equity and inclusivity. So, and the right for quality education for all. So when you call for all, I think we should not have any gender biases there as well. So let me just share my screen and let's see what we can do about this. My 2 cents into the entire thing. So when you're talking about gender, like I said, like quality education and gender equality, if you're talking about the two SDG goals, they go hand in hand. And this is something that I got on the net, that according to UNICEF, like what Mr. Jitesh was also saying, we are one of the youngest nations today. And if you see the percentage of the population that's between 0 and 14, and the percentage which are between 10 and 19 in the adolescence age, this is something that we should be tapping upon. This is something we should not leave 50% of this behind when we are leaving the girl child behind. So when we talk about quality education, when we talk about gender equality, we have to take care of the youth of the country, because they're the future of the country as well. They have to be given quality education, and they have to be given all the right kind of stimulus which will make them growing up to be responsible citizens. So these are few things that I feel can define quality education. That is, first is equity, not equality. We have been harping a lot on equality in the previous decades, that there should be equality, but when we actually think about equality, it's not enough. There has to be an equity, and I'll be elaborating on that. A nurturing, safe environment, and including a hygienic infrastructure, like I stated earlier also, specifically for the girl child to be in school. It's very important that we have a hygienic infrastructure with sanitation and good toilet systems. Again, a part of the quality education. So again, hand in hand, quality education as well as the girl children to be in this class and in the school. Appropriate teaching and learning material, taking on from what Shireen just said. When we say appropriate, that means it should not be gender neutral. It should not have defined roles about toys and about the learning material that the children are using in the classrooms. Inclusivity. Now, when we talk about inclusivity, I think many of us have a very narrow viewpoint of inclusivity. Inclusivity would mean that it should be free from the prejudice of color, community, culture, differently, specially able children, gender, or any kind of a social or economic standing. When we are talking about that kind of an inclusivity, we can have all the children as a right to education in the school, and it should not depend on who, where, what. To have all of this in the quality education, we should have very trained and very passionate educators and facilitators who are keen to do that, because specifically in our rural areas and our government systems, when we have Anganwadis, when we have Balwadis, these facilitators, the Sevikas, are also enacting on as the bridge between the home and the school. They go to home, they educate the parents, they tell why the children need to be in school. So if they're trained, if they're passionate about what they're doing, and they can actually bridge the gap between the home and the school, we can have a lot more children coming into the school and lesser dropouts. Age and developmentally appropriate curriculum for holistic and optimum learning. Of course, for all quality education, that's a necessity. Now, when we are translating it, whatever I just said, when we talk about equality and equity, that's the difference that the graphic states it all. The same kind of boxes, if we give to all the children, and with same kind of infrastructure or resources we give to all the children, it's not suitable enough. We have to have equity in terms of what is the need of the child, what is the need of the girls or differently able children. So when we're talking about quality in education, we're talking about equity in education as well. Safe and hygienic meals, toilets, infrastructure, enabling and nurturing infrastructure, that is for sure. And inclusive classrooms where we teach children how to interact, respect, and be with children who are different from themselves. That includes the gender roles as well. So where we teach when we are already, teaching our girls for self-defense, and we look into harassment, and we look into the, biases that go against them. Let's also start teaching our boys how to treat girls, how to be with them in the same classroom, how to treat them with respect, with dignity, and what is empathy all about, what is compassion all about. I think right from early childhood, if we begin doing that, we will have a greater amount of problems sorted. So when we're talking about SDG 4 and 5, we can definitely correlate both of them to create a pedagogy which is inclusive, which is fun, which is hands-on, through play, gender-neutral toys and playing together, through stories, giving them the values and the very important lessons in life, with toys, with nature, with a happiness curriculum, and taking care of all kinds of our learners, whether they are the visual, auditory, readers, or kinesthetic, or they have multiple intelligences. We have to take that into accounting, that is irrespective of gender. All these factors are not in any way bound by any gender. So both, if we are taking care of all of this, and concerns to be addressed in our curriculum are the gender inequality and the stereotypes that we're teaching them right from the very beginning. For example, right from nursery onwards, when we have community helpers, when we have people who help us, what are we showcasing? I think we are showcasing these. A man is a doctor, a lady is a nurse, a man is a pilot, the lady is an air hostess. So aren't we still degrading them? Why can't we have 2 doctors and 2 nurses and 2 pilots and 2 air stewards? I don't know. We are doing that. In my school, in Vibrio group of schools, we have books where we have gender equality. Then the kind of toys, of course, for man-to-man playing, construction sets, train sets. For the boys, for the girls, it's a tea party. Let the teddy bear and the Barbies go for tea, and let's have kitchen role plays. And lastly, interesting aspect is, why do we always have only female facilitators, school heads and teachers in the early childhood settings? I think we are also very gender biased. Why not we have a male perspective where we can have the children interacting more with male adults as well, like they do at home? So it's either gender bias, not only from the other point of view, from our point of view also. I don't think so. We are actually doing a lot. So that's how I would take it into accounting. So that's my 2 bits about it, Dr. Vasavvi. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Smriti. Wonderfully presented, and most of the points, are wonderfully covered. And what I like the most is the happiness curriculum. You were talking about, so happiness is basically when when you can do what you feel like doing, what you have in your mind, and that gives you happiness, right? So a child who would want to study, if not allowed, is never happy. Or similar, it's different ways. We find happiness by doing what we want to do. It's not about going out to work or doing certain other things, but what makes you happy. And yes, in the early childhood setting, I really like that picture with the male adult as the facilitator. So we kind of, encourage that. And there has been wonderful webinars taking this forward. They have this cause of why not males in the early childhood, scenario. So yeah, lovely. And I feel, yes, if we can correlate the SDG 4 and 5, yes, we will really move forward in our vision of having a more equitable society. Right. Thank you so much, Smriti. So moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Jitesh. So we know that in India, the data suggests that female literacy is 62.3% compared to 80% for men. And girls comprise 48 of the school population, but only 46.8 at preschool and kindergarten levels. The gap widens at the secondary school level, where there are only 47.9% of enrolled children who are girls. So yeah, so this inequality is very evident. The gender-based inequality in education, or inequity, even that would be a more relevant term. So, Mr. Jitesh, my question to you is to suggest some strategies to reduce gender inequality in education. Over to you.
So, Dr. Vasavvi, this question is very, very close to my heart, actually. So growing up, I was shaped by a very strong presence of a matriarch. And I've shared this so many times at most forums that my grandmother was a very, very strong matriarch, sorry, in the family. And she didn't, she was only a school grad. She didn't go for graduation, but she ensured all her children are educated. She had 4 daughters, a son, and they were equally educated. And then she ensured that her grandchildren, whether it's a girl child or a boy child, they are educated too. So one thing that I learned from her is that education was never about, of course, you educate yourself to bring out the best in you, but what it actually leads is to an expansion of mind, which is very necessary. And that is why educating girls has always been something I've deeply cared about. My brother has 2 daughters, so I treat them like my own children, and I notice them, and I learn so much through in the years when they're growing up. And to address this gender gap in education, as shown in the statistics, we need to implement a few strategies that go beyond surface level solutions. We must cultivate a deeper understanding of the immense potential of every girl child, which is something which has not been explored much in our country. And whether it is a boy and girl, both the children have potential. But somewhere I've seen that especially in lower middle class and rural areas, um, girls are not um, encouraged to study. So I have a few strategies. I have a few points that I feel can help reduce gender inequality in education. And the first and foremost is something that everybody's talked about, is basically shifting mindsets. Uh, the very root issue of all this often lies in how our society perceives the value of girls. Um, First and foremost, we must help families and communities understand that educating girls doesn't just benefit the girls, but benefits the entire family, and the quality of life improves. When a girl is educated, her entire family, her entire community, eventually the society at large benefits. So it is very important to nurture empathy and deep respect for every child's potential, regardless of the gender. And each child carries this within them, this uh, power to make a very meaningful contribution to the society. So investing in a girl child's education is basically investing in the future of the nation. I am So when people ask me what are we doing, when I'm working with most NGOs and stuff, we say that we are doing nation building, and it's a very heavy term, and a lot of times people don't even understand. But the point is that we are working with youth, and we are trying to empower youth as much as possible. And I have realized, especially post pandemic, there are far more mental health issues with youngsters, with older people, and the society at large, people at large are becoming more lonelier than ever. So that is the reason we are working actively on these fronts. Other is offering practical support to families. Most families have financial challenges, and I'm talking about most of the Indian families. So we do have an upper middle class and the cream, but majority of Indian live in rural and in tier 2 and tier 3 towns, and they have financial challenges, and that becomes a reason for girls, and that the reason why girls are denied education. And we can address this by providing more scholarships, a better scholarship programs, free learning material, meals which make education accessible. uh, what we have noticed is that the meals that we are providing children are very low in protein. So if you've noticed, our children are not growing well. And most of these educators, I mean, they know that it is very, very essential for children to have the decent amount of protein in their diet. So the right kind of diets need to be designed. If you're providing free food to children, the diets have to be very balanced, rich in proteins, decent amount of fiber, carbohydrates. So we need to really rework this entire framework. And I think the most important point is to support the girl child emotionally, because you need to help them believe in their education is not just a duty but an opportunity for growth. And when communities come behind girls, supporting them at every step, you've seen in history how women have done wonders. I mean, I very proudly tell the youngsters that some of the biggest companies in the world are run by women, and some of the best NGOs are run by women. And these girls, when I've talked to them, they've always had a family which encouraged them to go beyond the general norm. Uh, Third point, which Smriti also highlighted, and which is very, very essential, is creating a very safe kind of a space for girls, a very nurturing environment. So, for girls to thrive in school, they need to feel safe. They need to feel supported. Um, they need to have proper sanitation. They need to have a school or a premise or an environment free from harassment and discouragement. Uh, but it goes deeper than this. Schools must foster an environment where girls feel valued, they feel heard, they feel respected. So when a girl, she can safely express herself, she can explore her talents, uh, then she develops a deep sense of belonging in the school. Then you will see a girl keeps herself engaged in studies, then the learning journey goes on. So we need to develop a sense of belonging for the girl child in the school. And fourth point, which another point pretty close to my heart. I always believe I am whatever I am is because of my mentor. It is because of my mentor I learned the sanctity of life. It is because of my mentor I learned that I can do whatever I want. I can learn whatever I want. And I was a very underconfident kid. When I started, I had OCD, I had other issues, and how I was mentored by what a great man he was. And they say to become great, you need to associate with greatness. And his mentoring actually made me realize that I have infinite potential. And it is something that we so grossly ignore in our society, the role of mentorship, the role of role models. Uh, I think the most effective way to inspire young girls is to introduce them to women who have succeeded through education. Women like Shireen or Archana or Smriti or Dr. Vasavvi, and more women. So these role models show girls that their dreams are attainable. Mentorship programs are very powerful programs. They offer girls guidance, encouragement, motivation, a different change in perspective. So when girls see achieving women achieve great things, they start believing in themselves too. They begin to believe that they too can overcome all these obstacles that are in front of them, and contribute to the society, and do something amazing about their lives. Uh, and fifth is government policies, which we always talk about. I want great people to be at the center of policy making, because governments can enforce policies, and the government has the power to create such wonderful programs and policies. But education system has to be flexible too, especially for those children, children who are facing challenges. Uh, we need to really work on more on digital classrooms, alternative learning paths. Um, you know, like Smriti said, every child is unique. You give the same set of skills to all the children, same material, they'll all create something different out of it. You give the Lego blocks to four different children, they will create four different things. So they are designed uniquely. No child is same. That's the beauty. I always tell youngsters, when they come and compare themselves with others, I say that why would you compare yourself to someone else? An apple can't be a peach. It can be the most beautiful, juicy, shiny apple. And a peach cannot be a mango. So you are unique. You bring something so wonderful to the world. And that is where the education system needs to evolve, and give people a chance to show their beautiful colors. So the power of lifelong learning is the sixth point, where I feel that in today's world, education must go beyond textbooks. It is high time now. Um, Young people in India are being. No, I remember my generation: engineer, doctor, and maybe a lawyer, and that is what people would aspire to be. And my father told me, "Don't you be an engineer, doctor, and lawyer. Be something else." And I feel that that's because my father had a very broad mind. He felt that there is more that we can do. There's so much more to explore. So it should go beyond textbook. Our children should become problem solvers. They should become leaders, global leaders. They should become compassionate people. We are teaching our children to be wise, sharp, cunning. Rather, I want them to be very humanistic, happy people. That wherever they are, they're like a source of joy. Um, Especially women. Every time there would be stress in our house, our mother would smile and say, "It's okay. Let me cook a nice meal for you guys." And let me, no, I'm not stereotyping, but my mom was very fond of feeding us. And I mean, you can see from the chubby cheeks we all have in our families. But what I learned from her was that her smile would change everything. So I think we need to go beyond books. We are facing global challenges. There is rampant war everywhere. The children are dying. We have pandemics. They are predicting, God forbid, more pandemics might happen in the future. We have economic collapses happening around the world. We have debt crisis. We have global printing of money. We have one of the biggest crises I see nowadays is a gap between the rich and the poor is just becoming bigger than ever. Now, in such times, we have to educate them in the values of empathy, sustainability, global citizenship. so that they bring the change that we desperately need in the world. So we need to educate girls and boys alike, but we need to ensure that there's a strong balance, and that becomes the foundation of the society. Because education brings innovation, it brings resilience, it brings hope. In a very hopeless society, it's very, very important to educate people. So I really feel every child has this, my grandfather would say there was only one Gandhi. He changed everything. One educated child, one wonderful child can change anything. So at the core is this strategy in the belief of infinite potential that lies between every child, and by nurturing not only the minds but the hearts of children. Whenever I talk to youngsters, if I if I and I've seen when I'm very mechanically telling them things, no matter how lovely my language is and how wonderfully I speak, and how graceful I look, kids can see through you. But the moment you uh, try to share your heart, try to touch their heart, things start transform. They start changing. So these are a few points. I can go on and on and on. I love children. I love youth. I have deep, deep, deep love for youth. I promise my mentor that I will utilize my entire life in training youth. So thank you once again, Dr. Vasavvi, and to all the wonderful the panelists for allowing me to share my thoughts. I didn't wanted to make a PPT because I wanted to just share my heart out with all of you, and I hope to work with all of you someday in the future and contribute to girl child education, girl child upliftment as much as I can. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jitesh, for such a wonderful insight into education, insight into educating girl child. You talked about mentorship, which is very important because we are talking. I do a lot of work with women entrepreneurs with startups, and we see that hand holding and mentorship. It is so important for a woman when she comes out of the general comfort zone or the general stereotypes that she is expected to, and she walks into or steps into another threshold. So that actually is really important. Again, you talked about the meals, the diet, the equity, what the girl needs at that point in time, and then you talked about also the digitalize the technology. And taking a cue from there, let me move on to our next speaker, Ms. Archana Madhusudan. My question for you is, how do you think digital technologies in education may be used to specifically empower girls? Over to you, Archana.
Thank you, Doctor, for the question. Very pertinent points made by my co-speakers, and I completely endorse Mr. Khanna's view that when the woman of the house is educated, the whole household is educated. So I staunchly believe in the statement, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Okay, so coming to my question, digital technologies in education can play a significant role in empowering girls by addressing gender inequalities and provide access to opportunities that might otherwise be limited. I would like to address this question using a PPT. I hope my screen is visible, Dr. Vasavvi.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So empowering girls through digital education technologies. The first point, expanding access to quality education, as already mentioned by my co-speakers. Digital platforms enable girls in remote or underserved regions to access high-quality learning resources, overcoming barriers like geographic isolation or lack of local schools. It provides flexible learning options to girls who have other responsibilities, such as household chores or childcare, to study at times convenient for them. I've also mentioned initiatives taken by organizations. UNICEF's initiative of GIGA This is one such initiative aimed at connecting every school to the internet by 2013. The GIGA initiative works towards improving access to digital learning for girls and boys equally, especially in underserved regions. There are initiatives by organizations such as the Global Partnership for Education and UN Women. These are leveraging platforms to reach marginalized girls. If we look from the Indian perspective, under the broader Digital Indian campaign, the government has launched programs like Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Saksharata Abhiyan, also Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. These are initiatives which integrate digital tools, promoting girls' education and gender equality by using online platforms to raise awareness and learning materials. Next, building digital literacy and STEM skills. Online learning environments allow girls to develop crucial skills in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the STEM education, helping address underrepresentation in these fields. Digital tools can introduce girls to coding, robotics, and other tech-related fields, helping bridge the gender gap in technology and innovation. Some of the initiatives in this area, the Google's Internet Sathi program, it was launched to empower rural women with digital literacy. This initiative trains women to use the internet, who in turn train others in the community, including girls, allowing them to access educational content, career resources, and online learning platforms. Another initiative is called Girls Who Code. Now, this is a non-profit organization which runs free summer immersion programs, after-school clubs, and online coding resources by giving girls hands-on experience in technology and digital skills. Now, this initiative helps them become future leaders in tech, expanding their opportunities in education and career. Also, Microsoft's Youth Spark program, another initiative, Teach for India's Tech for Good initiative. This provides digital literacy and STEM training to underprivileged girls in India. The aim is to bridge the digital divide and empower girls with the skills they need to thrive in an increasingly digital world. By focusing on girls in marginalized communities, this initiative helps ensure that they have access to the same learning tools and resources as their urban counterparts. Next is fostering safe learning spaces. Now, this has been underlined by all of my co-speakers on this forum today. Virtual classrooms provide gender-sensitive environments where girls can learn without facing physical safety concerns or societal biases, and can express themselves freely, engage in discussions, collaborate with peers without fear of harassment or judgment. These platforms can create awareness of rights, gender equality, and social justice, empowering them to advocate for themselves and others. Now, platforms like Plan International's Girls Out Loud provide a safe space for girls to discuss social issues, share their experiences, and build self-confidence. Similarly, several apps, one of them is Circle of Six, which allows girls to alert trusted contacts in case of emergencies, ensuring personal safety in both online and offline spaces. Career opportunities and financial independence. Online education can provide girls with access to vocational training and entrepreneurial courses, helping them gain skills for employment or starting their own businesses. Also, digital platforms helps girls network globally, access job opportunities, internships, and scholarships that can pave the way for economic empowerment. Initiatives in this area. Technovation teaches girls how to code, and develop apps, equipping them with digital skills that enhance their career prospects in the tech industry. Skillshare or LinkedIn Learning offer vocational courses on topics such as digital marketing, graphic design, and entrepreneurship, which girls can take to gain job-ready skills. Programs like She Trades help connect female entrepreneurs in developing countries with international markets, fostering financial independence. Now, this is a slide representing the percentage of youth taking vocational training or other courses. And we see that the women who have been benefiting from this is quite large compared to many of the previous decades that we've been seeing. Next, promoting gender equality and awareness. Digital education can include gender-sensitive curriculums that challenge traditional gender roles and also stereotypes. But this helps empower girls by promoting gender equality and awareness, fostering a generation that values inclusion. Initiatives. UNESCO's Global Education Coalition partners with tech companies, governments, and civil society to provide digital learning solutions. A key focus is on ensuring girls' continued access to education via digital tools, especially in low-resource settings. Equals is a global partnership for gender equality. It's again a coalition of private sector companies, governments, and non-profit organizations that work together to close the digital gender divide by providing girls and women with access to technology and digital skills. It specifically works on improving girls' access to STEM curriculum, science, technology, engineering, and math, through online platforms and digital resources, helping them break into tech fields. And finally, improving health and well-being. Digital platforms provide girls with critical health information, including reproductive health education, that they might not otherwise have access to. We were never, as young girls, we were never told about puberty. And it was a shocker when girls in our generation started menstruating because they never knew what it was. So everything was a taboo. At least now girls have access to resources to understand what it is all about and be prepared for it. This empowers them to make informed decisions and promote overall well-being. We have apps, websites offering guidance on hygiene, nutrition, and also mental health. Girl Effect is one such initiative. It creates virtual and real-world spaces where girls can be inspired, informed, and connected to services and to others so they can take action to change their lives. Last but not the least, connecting to global role models and mentors. Digital technologies connect girls with role models and mentors globally, showing them examples of successful women in various fields. This connection can be crucial in building confidence and career aspirations, especially in societies where women's opportunities are traditionally limited. Social networks and collaborative platforms such as Global Fund for Women's Ignite initiative allows girls to connect with peers, activists, and leaders worldwide to advocate for women's rights, share ideas, and inspire each other to create a societal change. In conclusion, by integrating digital technologies in education, we can not only enhance learning outcomes, but also drive gender equality, fostering a generation of empowered girls with the confidence and skills to shape their own futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Archana. This was a lot of information on digital learning initiatives for girls and the way they can be empowered through the digital platform. Thank you so much for sharing. I would, request you to share the slide with me after the webinar on those, different learning initiatives for girls, which I may, share with a lot of others who may be interested. So we finally came to the end of today's webinar, and it has been such an insightful one. It makes me so happy because we covered almost every bit of, how to bridge that gender gap in whatever ways, be it infrastructure, be it PT, be it in whatever curriculum, different playways and gender neutral play, the digital technologies, the mindset that we talked about, the ecosystem that we need to build up. And it's really, I feel that these are small steps that we as a forum take, but I feel these small steps, if done or if taken by everyone together in a consolidated manner, can make a big difference, because every drop of water matters to make it an ocean. So I feel that today's webinar would be really insightful for a lot of people who are interested, who want to bring about a change and who has been working towards it. And we'll be sharing the links to this webinar, the YouTube link and all of it. And we will share it further so that those who would want to watch it and understand and take up smaller steps, and even, all the initiatives that are there and what we can do, it would really be helpful for them. Thank you so much to all our esteemed speakers who's joined us today, Mr. Jitesh, Ms. Shireen, Ms. Smriti, Ms. Archana, and we really missed Dr. Forrest. She had some technical glitches, but nevertheless, we'll have her in some of the other webinars that will be coming up. ECDF always plans a lot of events, a lot of online and offline events, and we look forward to having you as part of that. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.